I'm Greg Fillinganes. I'm here to talk about this wonderful piece of machinery, the Oasis.
What's up? You got your boy Dyreck, aka Native Shades, reminding you to like and subscribe, because today we're gonna be talking about the Korg Oasys. What had happened was... Now, the Korg Oasis came out around 2005, and a lot was going on at this time. The legendary sound of the Triton was just coming to an end. Everybody got tired of the Triton. Around this time, people was ready for a new keyboard. But the origins of the Oasis actually dates back to the early 90s. You know, Oasis is actually an acronym. It stands for Open Architecture Synthesis Studio. You know, remember when cats had dope acronyms like, the name Kane is superior to many people. It means King Asiatic, nobody's equal. You know, like Big Daddy Kane and stuff. I was trying to think of one. I couldn't think of anything. You know, I was a kid and stuff. I was like, yeah, Dyreck. That's gonna stand for Dopest Why Reason Extreme Cat Killer. I was just trying to come up with anything, man. It was so hard. I wanted something cool like Wu-Tang Cash Rules Everything Around Me, Cream and everything. I couldn't find anything, man. I think I had too many letters in my name. You see, way back then, Korg had in their mind to create the ultimate keyboard workstation. This was supposed to be the keyboard workstations of all keyboard workstations. This was supposed to be a leap into the future of technology. Seriously, the developers in Korg wanted to create a statement with this product. So before they even started creating the keyboard, they created an Oasis PCI card. This was a synthesis algorithm created with a Mac program called SynthKit in conjunction with a DSP card for real synthesized programming. Yeah, a lot of nerdy tech stuff. In translation, this was some dope-ish. And they wanted this to be built around a touchscreen. But there was only one problem, was that with all this processing they wanted this PCI card to do, there was no computer at the time that could handle it. You know what I'm saying? Technology wasn't at that level around 1995. So Korg ended up using the touchscreen and a little bit of the synthesis in their legendary keyboard, the Trinity. But they was holding back. They were holding back for technology to catch up so they could finally put out their ultimate workstation that they always wanted. And in 2005, Korg released the Oasis. You had multiple synthesizers using the magnificent modeling technology that made everything sound like the instrument it was representing. A piano sounded like a piano. A guitar sounded like a guitar. You had a 16-track hard disk recorder, a sequencer, a wave sequencer on the Oasis. You had 172 polyphony, 1 gig of RAM expandable to 2 gig of memory. You had a 40 gig hard disk drive. You had an open sampler on this keyboard. You had a velocity sensitive keybed with aftertouch. 2, count them, 2 joysticks. You had a 10-inch touchscreen and a 2.8 gigahertz Intel Pentium 4 processor. The Korg Oasis, ladies and gentlemen, was the ultimate keyboard workstation. And in 2005, Korg released it to the public. All the great musicians was demonstrating this joint. Herbie Hancock, Jordan Rudess, Tom Costner, Greg Fillinganes, everybody was demonstrating the Korg Oasis someplace. And you gotta remember, folks, this was early YouTube. YouTube had just came out. So there wasn't any real videos on YouTube at the time, other than cat videos, Mac vs. PC videos, people doing the Harlem Shake, people trying to sing Whitney Houston songs and destroying her catalog. There was not that much great content out. So when the Korg Oasis dropped, all eyes was on the Oasis. And people were really excited about it. So excited that they ran to the store with their wallets open, ready to buy. They were in Guitar Center like, hey, where's the Korg Oasis? I got $1,000 ready to buy this joint. And the sales rep was like, yeah, I think you need to about face, go back home, and come back with $7,000 more. What? The Korg Oasis was $8,000. So that right there was the first problem with the Oasis. It was too expensive. But believe it or not, the people that did buy the Oasis loved it. And when I'm talking about loved the Oasis, they loved this machine. They said they never, ever played a keyboard so expressive. They never put their fingers on a keybed so elegant. They never used a workstation with such dynamic effects. And the modeling technology, all the algorithms that came together to make the sound that the Oasis had was music to these folks' ears. And believe it or not, Korg sold a lot of Oasis. You would think with an $8,000 price tag, which can actually be risen to like almost 10 grand when you add in all the upgrades and everything like that, that people would be real hesitant to buy this? No. This thing was such an advancement in technology that everybody kind of was like, hey, listen, this is worth the money. So things were going great for the Oasis, so great that Korg promised like lifetime upgrades. Korg actually said, listen, if you pay for this unit, if you drop $8,000 on this keyboard right here, we promise to continuously upgrade this keyboard and update it and give it the latest and greatest whenever needed. It's like being a kid and your parents promise you that, hey, if you do good in school, we promise to get you that 1990s BMX bike that you so wanted for Christmas. And you're like, okay. So you really get down and start grinding and studying for your tests, you know, missing all your favorite cartoons just to get that BMX bike. And finally, Christmas arrives, so you open your present and the packaging is huge. So you're ready to see this bike. You're like, okay. And you rip the package open and you see it's some kind of like vacuum cleaner thingy. And you're like, what is this? And your mom's like, yeah, Danny, this is a Hoover vacuum cleaner. Now you can vacuum the living room and your brother's room, and they'll pick up all the dirt and fast. And you're like, Mom, what happened to the BMX bike you promised me Santa would get me? And she's like, right. Yeah, hun, Santa got fired. Yeah, he got fired from his job. You're like, he got fired? She's like, yeah, they had to let him go. Yeah, I think he's on unemployment right now, though. You know, he might make a comeback, but we're gonna have to wait until next Christmas and see. But just like it was for Danny Boy, things started to go bad for the Oasis. Number one, it was too expensive. I mean, people went out and they did buy it, like real established musicians and people that had $8,000 to spend did go out and buy it. But that left the other half that just looked at it and said, wow, man, this thing is too expensive. Number two is this was pretty much new technology, meaning Korg, Yamaha, Roland, they really knew what they were doing as far as hardware was concerned. But this was kind of like the beginning of really going deep into software. You got to understand, this synthesis unit was like the first unit that just jammed everything together and tried to make everything work as one. The software technicians didn't have the experience as a lot of the hardware technicians had as far as dealing with the technology. So as far as software was concerned, it was kind of like trial and error. The third thing was that it had a lot of bugs. Like, people were complaining about the unstableness of the unit. You know, it wasn't necessarily the hardware, but once again, it was the software, because it was kind of new as far as software was concerned. So, you know, they would put out an update like a 1.3 and they claimed they fixed the bugs, but it would be bugs still there. Then they put out a 1.4 claiming the 1.3 bugs are fixed, but that'll still have the bugs. So, you know, a lot of folks was complaining this thing was kind of buggy. And the last thing was production started to get too expensive for Korg. I know what you're thinking. This thing costs $8,000. How could production be too expensive? These guys are selling this thing for like a ton of money. But remember that PCI card we were talking about in the beginning that you can put all the synthesis engines in? Well, that card alone costs $1,500. Now, that card isn't necessarily in the Oasis keyboard, but it just goes to show you the expensive equipment they was putting in this thing. You got 2 vector joysticks, a Genesis LCD display, you got a CD writer in this thing. You add that with the touchscreen, with the hardware, you know, a sequencer, and even throwing in a sampler in this unit, things start to get a bit pricey. And you know, Korg's whole model was to make affordable products for like the bedroom musician guy. Believe it or not, you know, you probably can't tell by some of the products they got out now, but they never really wanted to focus on creating expensive products. They always wanted to make affordable products for the consumer. So this Oasis thing took them all the way left. And in 2009, with just over 3,000 units sold, Korg decides to discontinue the Oasis. A lot of folks was upset. A lot of folks were screaming in the Korg forums, "We want our money back. You made us spend $8,000 on this keyboard, promising us updates and everything like that, and you're gonna discontinue it just after 4 years?" You know, it was so bad. I think Korg kind of felt guilty and felt owed to the people that Korg actually continued to update the Oasis for over 5 years after they discontinued it. You know, when you talk to the head developers in Korg, they're really about the musician. They are so much about the design and take so much pride in their products that it really isn't about the money with them. You know what I'm saying? It's not about how we can get a money grab. It's really about how we can create a magnificent product and experience for the consumer. At least that's what they said. So Korg continued to update the Oasis and fixed a lot of its issues, to a point a lot of the people that had the machine were perfectly satisfied with it and would trade it for anything in the world. 2 years after the Oasis got discontinued, Korg came out with their world-renowned flagship workstation, the Korg Kronos. And the Kronos is basically Oasis 2.0. You know what I'm saying? Like 80% of the Korg Kronos is actually the Oasis. You know, so that just lets you know how fantastic an instrument the Korg Oasis is. So yeah, that's the Korg Oasis. What had happened was... So this is your boy Dyreck, aka Native Shades, reminding you to go down low in the description and get that MPC1 Hidden Strategies, where I'm giving you a free MPC 4000 sound library. It doesn't exist anymore. Over a gig of sounds. You know what I'm saying? Put that joint on your MPC1 and you are good. So this is your boy Dyreck, aka Native Shades, reminding you to like and subscribe. And I'm signing off.